Welcome to today's episode in our Haelan Nurse Chronicles. I'm Dr. Lori, I'm your host, and I'm so grateful that you're here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. In prior episodes, we have talked a lot about the challenges and the harsh working conditions under which nurses are practicing, and how the healthcare system worldwide is literally hemorrhaging nurses. We are voicing our pain and suffering with our pink slips and our feet in many instances. And so we don't have necessarily, well, we do have a nursing shortage, we have a staffing situation, but really at the root cause is the sustained mistreatment of nurses that has resulted in a critical mass where nurses are just no longer able to sacrifice themselves for a broken healthcare system or toxic workplaces. So, and it's important to kind of always keep our context with this while we start putting our eyes on the horizon and see where we're going in as a profession and also as individual nurses, in thinking about the totality of our lived experience as a human in body, mind, essence. And remember, that's that umbrella term that captures every aspect of your lived experience and any ancestral lineages or legacies of suffering that has been transmitted through any number of mechanisms. So it's a broad, encompassing term that we really want to start thinking about ourselves as whole human beings. And in integrative nursing, one of the principles is that humans are whole people who are inseparable from the contexts and systems in which they work, right? And that includes nurses. So today I want to talk about some terms out of my book, which is right here. Shameless plug, Nursing Our Healer's Heart. And I'm going to be on page 31 because I really want to talk today about how important it is that we nurture, nourish, and thrive, not only in our practices but in life. But given the inordinate amount of avoidable and unavoidable nurse-specific trauma exposure in conjunction with the individual traumas that we have experienced, all of which are in varying degrees of healedness within us, it's really easy to get mired in the pain and suffering, not just physical pain in any dimension of our being, right? It's really easy to get mired in there and kind of lose sight of the goal and the horizon. So when I talk about nurturing and nourishing ourselves, it's every aspect of our being, but really starting in our most primal system, the autonomic nervous system and the vagus nerve, which as we go through these podcast series together, you will see are immeasurably important. The foundation, the bedrock upon which everything else is built, quite frankly, in terms of professional safety and well-being. So let us first talk about, on page 31, what does it mean to nurture? To nurture. Like, when was the last time you were nurtured? At home or at work? It's such a basic primal need, and most of us are just so darn busy that we don't have time or don't have the bandwidth or the headspace to really pause and nurture ourselves. So let's talk about what that means. Nurturing is a process by which individuals and nursing communities engage their feelings, attitudes, behaviors, and substances that stimulate, foster, and support professional well-being. So again, anything really that helps us be held and supported in every aspect when we are at work, and of course when we're at home, but the focus of our time here together is really in our professional roles. And so nurturing is, you can nurture yourself one mindful breath. I just nurtured myself. I just nurtured my nervous system. I just set a signal of safety to my threat detector and so much more. and calmed all aspects of my physiology. So there's many ways that we can nurture ourselves, including some of the practices, kind of the appetizer practices that I've shared with you, the microdoses matters practice, the button jar practice. Those are just little appetizer samplers of how we can really nourish ourselves, nurture and nourish ourselves. So now that we're talking about nourishing, let's see what that's defined in. Again, I'm in the book, page 31. It's kind of wild reading your own book. I'm not gonna lie. It feels a little unnatural, but yet here it is in my hand, and we're going to talk about it. So nourish is the active or passive act of providing sustenance to every aspect of one's being or body-mind essence, from the mitochondria to the totality of the essence of who you are, even beyond the physical realm. So again, this has a lot to do with we think of nourishing ourselves. Of course, we all know to hydrate and eat well and exercise and all of those things, but also nourishing our emotional body, nourishing our spiritual body in whatever way resonates with you. There's no right or wrong way to take your nourishment. Your nourishment is unique to you, and what lights you up, what recharges your battery, what restores you, what energizes you. That's what this is about. So it's not about a prescriptive, you should, eat this many meals a day and you should drink this many. No, it's how do you feel nourished? Way down to the core of your being. What practices, what activities, what types of people, what types of relationships and communities. There's so many ways to nourish ourselves. And really thinking about how can you nourish yourself at work, right? Because so many of us sort of just go into this mode, and I'm not judging at all, because it's really, we're in survival mode. As a profession, we're literally in survival mode. This is the worst nursing crisis I think that has ever been, or at least that has ever been recorded, right? In terms that we can understand today. And so how can you nourish yourself at work? Is it just taking a moment before you get on the computer to, maybe reach in your pocket and touch maybe a piece of the earth that you brought with you, maybe a stone or a crystal or a dried or pressed flower in paper, anything that is from nature. Just that one small act is nourishing, right? But we get into sort of this sympathetic overdrive state, where it's just like we're on the hamster wheel and we're running as fast as we can from task to task to task to task, and I don't have time to hydrate, and I don't have time to use the restroom, and I don't have time to eat lunch. And that is real. I am not minimizing that. That is real for many nurses, and a big part of the harsh working conditions that led us to this crisis, where nurses simply cannot continue to be neglected and abused in their professional settings, right? And so taking back a little bit of power here. And when I say power, I mean that in the empowerment sense of the word, and not the coercive power over sense of the word, right? So anytime I say power, it's really in that empowerment. Take back our empowerment, take back our power. And yes, I do, and I will take at least 30 seconds, if not 30 minutes, when it's appropriate for me to do so, to nurture and nourish myself. Now, the last term I want to talk about today is thrive. Thrive. What a notion. I've surveyed hundreds, maybe even more now, I don't know, several hundreds, maybe approaching thousands of nurses over the years. And the vast majority of nurses are sort of in this survival mode, or they feel meh about their role, or they're thinking about leaving the profession. I would venture to say, and I haven't run the stats in a while, but just from memory, looking at my data sets, it's about 10% of nurses that I've had the opportunity to work with or survey report that they're thriving in practice. The rest, 90% of them, are less than thriving. Well, every nurse should be thriving in their practice, right? We deliver heart-centered, patient-centered care that requires us to be fully present with ourselves and with one another and with our patients, but we're working in harsh conditions that actually don't provide for us to be heart-centered or fully present. And that's a source of tremendous strife and conflict for a good number of nurses. So let's think, most nurses are in survival mode, right? That like running from task to task to task, in that kind of sympathetic overdrive state where we're just like, just blazing through the day and not even, taking time to, not even feeling like we have time. And oftentimes we don't have time. It's real. It's not a misperception. It's unsafe occupational conditions is what it is, that nurses feel and cannot take so much as a few moments, let alone take their regularly mandated by law breaks and their lunch break. And yet so don't get me started on all that, because we're staying positive today. We're staying with these positive terms of nurture, nourish, and thrive. So let me now see the goal of my work is to help nurses make that journey from being in survival mode, like running on that hamster wheel all day, moving from surviving to thriving in practice. That's a healing arc. That's a journey that I am facilitating not only through my book, but through my Breakup with Burnout Academy for Nurses, which is sponsored by my nonprofit organization. So really, really pleased about all of that. And so that's really at the heart of my healer's heart. That's the calling. So let's talk about, what does thrive mean then? Well, thrive describes how we are vital and how we are always open to learning in our personal and professional roles. It's based upon positive experiences, even those that emerge after overcoming adversity or hardship. Thriving is connected to improved health and well-being across all dimensions of body, mind, essence. Now there's a key phrase in here, that thriving is based upon positive experiences. Well, the vast majority of nurses that I've surveyed, and when I look at the bigger data sets and study that are available, nurses are not having positive experiences in their practice. And I'm not talking about the art of nursing and, the emotional work of nursing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the avoidable nurse-specific traumatization that is secondary to healthcare system inadequacies. That's what I'm talking about. That is what is robbing nurses of the positive experiences that we should be having in our professional roles. And it is a physiological barrier, as you will learn in the episodes ahead when we start talking about the cell danger response theory. What we're learning is that all that nurses are enduring is having very substantial health consequences, not only in our professional lives, but in our personal lives. So it starts with transcending the negative experiences and the harsh working conditions, and really start to integrate into our very, very busy day more positive experiences. And guess what? That's probably not going to come from the system. It's not in the system's best interest for them to give us less work. It's in their interest to stretch us as thin as possible for the sake of profits, right? And so it's up to us. It's up to us as individual and collective nurses to get really creative, really innovative about how can I, as an individual nurse and as a team member, a unit leader, a manager, fill in the blank, whatever your role is, how can I facilitate that in my colleagues? And so we can raise the bar, we can raise the vibration independent of what the system is doing, right? And it starts with just micro doses, micro steps. We're not talking about huge, massive lifts. Those will follow later, but for right now, just interrupting that sympathetic overdrive so we can put in micro moments of positive experiences so that we can thrive in practice. So if you are at all curious to learn more, and I hope that you are, shameless plug coming for my book, which is Nursing Our Healer's Heart. It's available wherever books are sold. And also you can go to my website and drlorilaws.com as /burnout, drlorilaws.com/burnout. And you can take a 60-second self-survey to see if and how you've been affected by the harsh working conditions, and start thinking about how you can nurture, nourish, and thrive in your role. Until next time, thank you so much from my healer's heart to yours for the important work that you're doing, and namaste.